Alright, boys and girls, good afternoon. Okay, let's get going. So, today we're going to do part 4 and maybe part 5, but I'm not sure because part 5 is really long. So, we're just going to start with part 4. Part 4 is the French and Indian War. Emma, it's no problem. We are going to read it together. Okay, no problem. I think we are going to read the presentation together right now. And then I will do a second video and I will post the video on YouTube for part 5. Okay? All right. As usual, I am going to read the presentation, okay? And I am going to try to explain. If it is not clear, if you have questions, please ask your questions in the chat. Okay? Clear enough? All right, let's get going. So today's part 4. I don't remember what was part 3. What was part 3? Part 2 was Christopher Columbus. I don't remember. All right, the French and Indian War. Oh yes, part 3 was the 13 colonies. Sorry. So last time we discussed the 13 colonies. Do you remember? There were the New England colonies. It was religious, religious people, and they migrated to North America to have religious freedom. There were the middle colonies. In the middle colonies, there were merchants. Okay, they were there for commerce, for trade, exchanging goods. Hello, Manon. Good afternoon, girl. And there were the southern colonies. In the southern colonies, they grew crops, tobacco, rice, cotton. Okay, and they used a lot of African American slaves. Okay, so it was the New England colonies, the religious colonies, the middle colonies who were merchants, and the southern colonies who grew tobacco, cotton, and I don't remember, rice. I'm not sure. So today's part 4. Let's continue. The French and Indian War. Okay, so this is a map of the European colonies in North America circa 1750. Circa, it means around 1750. So as you can see, the red part here, this is the 13 colonies, okay? Massachusetts, Virginia, etc., etc. Okay, so in red, this is the British territory. You can see here, Great Britain. This is the colonies. In blue, it is France. It is France, but they call it New France. You understand? New France. It's like a New York or New Orleans. It is called New France. Okay? And it is the French Empire. New France. At the bottom, here you can see this is the Spanish territory. Okay? This part here, you can see in New France, this is Canada, you know Canada. Montreal, very famous. At the bottom, you can see La Nouvelle-Orléans, this is very famous as well. All right, let's continue. Okay, so in 1750, both France, in blue, and Great Britain had colonies in North America. Okay, here and here. Spain mostly had colonies in South America. You can see the colonies are here. This is. Do you recognize what state this is? Look at my red pointer. Do you know what this is? And what is this line here? Do you know what this is? So this is the Spanish colony, and this as well is the Spanish colony. Do you know what state this is? The small one in the bottom right. What state is this? In 1754, a war erupted. In 1754, a war erupted. To erupt, it means to start violently, erupt. Between the European great powers. There are 3 European great powers. The great powers are France, Spain, and Great Britain. Okay, so the war, it's like a world war, okay, between the three great powers. Mostly it is France and its ally is Spain, versus Great Britain. Okay, there are two teams, France and Spain versus Great Britain. Boys and girls, do you know what this is? What is this slide here? Any ideas? What is this? And what is this? All right, let's continue. This war was called the 7 Years' War, or the French and Indian War. Great Britain won the war, and France had to surrender most of Canada to the British. To surrender, it means to abandon and give to someone. Okay? I surrender. Like this, okay? I surrender. Fair enough? Do you understand? So they gave Canada to the English. Boys and girls, this is the Rio Grande. You know the Rio Grande? It is the frontier between Texas. Look, this is Texas, okay? And Mexico. The part here is Mexico. All right, and this is Florida. Okay, today it is Florida. It is an old Spanish territory. Okay, and Texas was an old Spanish territory as well. All right, the price of war. The price of war. England had won the war. However, the cost, the cost of the war had been really high, really high. In order to win the war, England, hello, good afternoon, girl. England had contracted a lot of debts. This is debts. You see the illustration? It's when you have no money. No money, sorry. So England contracted a lot of debts to win the war. Around 140 million pounds, which was a lot of money, especially at that time. So England was now very poor. To repay his debts, the British Parliament, you know what the Parliament is? The British Parliament decided to impose new taxes on its American citizens. Okay? So there was a very long and very violent war between Spain and France and Great Britain. The war was very costly. So now England was ruined, totally ruined. Ruined, like this. Okay, do you have questions? So this is the end of part 4. Good afternoon, man. All right, end of part 4. I'm going to continue with part 5. If there are no questions, Andrea, if you want, you can send me a mail. Okay, you can send me a mail at this address. Okay, girl? Do not hesitate. You can mail me whenever you want. Okay, so this is the end of part 4. Let's continue with part 5. Part 5. Okay. So this one is a little longer. Part 5 is the Treaty of Paris and taxation on the colonies. Okay, so this is a map of the USA. The Treaty of Paris. It was written in February of 1763. Okay, so during the war, there were the three superpowers. The three superpowers were France, Spain, and Great Britain. Okay, they are called superpowers because they have empires. You know what is an empire? empires. So they are the biggest, most powerful countries in the world. Okay, so there is this war. It is called the French and Indian War, or the 7 Years' War. And on one side, it is France and the Spanish versus the British. Okay. So this is an illustration of them signing the treaty. This is the signing of the Treaty of Paris. Okay, a peace treaty. The Treaty of Paris is a peace treaty between the king. The king is the king of France, the king of Spain, and the king of Great Britain. Okay, is it clear? And it is written conclu à Paris le 10 février 1763. Clear enough? Hello, Augustin. Good afternoon, man. All right. So during the peace treaty, the three countries, they decided to create a new map of North America. Do you see here? A new map of North America. So this is the new map of North America. This is what they decided during the peace treaty. So as you can see, this is the east coast of America, and here you can see these lines. Okay, this is important, the lines on the map. I'm going to show you. Okay, the map on the left, this is North America before the Treaty of Paris. Okay, roughly in 1754. Okay, the war started in 1754. So this is North America before the war. On the left, you can see this is the French territory in blue, and this is the British territory in red. The part in red and blue is where there is war, where there is confrontation, battles between the English and the French. Hello, Jade. Good afternoon, girl. And in green, you can see this is the Spanish part. So this is Florida, and this is Texas, Mexico, etc. And after the treaty, okay, so this is the new map. This is the new map. So as you can see, France has lost all its territory in North America. Okay, France has surrendered its territories to Great Britain, and now Great Britain has all of North America, all the way to this line. You see this line? Okay. I don't know if I can zoom. Oh, no, I don't think I can. This line here, this is the Mississippi. You know the Mississippi River? Okay, so the Mississippi River is the frontier between Great Britain and Spain. Okay, so now Great Britain has all the territory east of the Mississippi River. All right. Now, the Great Proclamation. The Great Proclamation, it dates back to October 1763. Okay, it is a proclamation by the king. This is the king, George III of England. Okay, I have put a video on the presentation, so if you want, you can take a look at the video, but it is not very important. It's more, it's more of a joke. You can watch it if you want. It's funny. So the king now had a very big empire, okay, but he had very little money, you know, because the war was very costly, very expensive. So the king had no money, and the king was scared. You know what he's scared? The king was scared because there were on this part here, as you can see, in the middle, there were a lot of American native Indians, like the Iroquois, okay? and the king was very scared because the Iroquois wanted to kill the British. They wanted to completely destroy the British colonies. Okay? So the king did not want a war with the Native Americans because the king was completely ruined. He had no money to make war. Okay? Do you understand? So the king was scared, so he made a great proclamation. You understand the proclamation? I proclaim. And he proclaimed, King George III, he proclaimed that the English, they are not authorized to go west of the Appalachians. Okay, they are not authorized to continue to go to the west. Okay, it is not allowed. So this is the Appalachian Mountains. Okay, the Appalachian Mountains. It's a very long mountain range, and it goes from the north of North America, almost all the way to Georgia, almost all the way to Florida. Okay, so it goes, it goes like this, from north to south. It goes from north to south. Okay, it's a very long mountain, and the British are not authorized to go west of the mountain. Okay, it is illegal. Do you understand? So that is the Great Proclamation of 1763. Okay, so now this is a map. As you can see in yellow here, this is the 13 colonies, you remember, okay, so there is New York, there is Virginia, Georgia, etc., the 13 colonies. In green, this is the territory that Great Britain won during the war, okay, this is the old French territory. And the king decides that now this is not American territory, the king decides that it is Indian territory, okay? It becomes Indian country. Is it clear? So the American colonists are not authorized to go in the green zone. It is forbidden. Okay? So the French were not happy at all with the Great Proclamation. Okay? The French were very unhappy because they had kept a very small part of North America. They had kept Quebec. You know, Quebec is still French. But Quebec was very, very small. The Catholics were not free, okay, because the king was a Protestant. You know, there is a conflict between the Catholics and the Protestants, and the King of England was a Protestant. So the French are Catholics, and the French were not happy at all. And the French thought that England was a threat to the Roman Catholic Church. You remember a threat? We used it in the last chapter. A threat like this. Okay, you remember? Plus, after the proclamation, after the king's proclamation, after this, trade was very limited for Quebec. Okay, so the French were very unhappy with the Great Proclamation. But the British colonists, they were very unhappy as well. The British colonists were not happy because there were a lot of restrictions on trade, on commerce. Okay, it was now commerce was controlled by the King of England in America. So the Americans, the British colonists, were not happy at all, not happy. The British colonists were not authorized to continue to the west. They were not authorized to cross the Appalachian Mountains. So they were not happy at all because they thought that it was their land, it was their America. Okay, so they were very unhappy. Plus, the decision was only the decision of the king. Okay, the British colonists had no choice. Okay, they couldn't voice their opinion. Do you understand? So the French were very unhappy, and the British colonists were very unhappy as well. Okay, so the next part is more taxes on American colonies. All right, so the British colonists were, oh, sorry. The British colonists were very unhappy because of the Great Proclamation. Okay, the Great Proclamation was in 1763. Okay, and now in 1764 there was a new tax on the British colonies. So this was called the Sugar Act. You know what is sugar? You put sugar in your coffee. Sugar Act. Then in 1764 there was a second tax, and it was called the Currency Act. Currency, it's a synonym for money. It was an additional tax on American money. Then in 1664 again there was a new tax that was called the Stamp Act. A stamp, it's what you put on your letters. You know, it's a small square and you lick it and you put it on your letters. So now there was a new tax on stamps. And in 1677 there were new taxes on glass, taxes on oil, taxes on paint, taxes on tea, taxes on everything. So the North American, they were not happy at all about the situation. Okay, so this is an old illustration. You can see no Sugar Act, no Tea Act, no Stamp Act. Okay, they were protesting in the street. You understand? Protesting. Not happy, unhappy. All right, the Americans, they were not happy with the taxes, but especially they were unhappy because there was taxation. Taxation is when the government takes your money. Okay. There was taxation, but there was no representation. So the American, they gave money to the British government, but they had no voice. They had no voice in the British Parliament. You know what is the British Parliament? Okay, because for example, in Scotland they have a voice in the Parliament. In Ireland, they've got a voice in the Parliament. Okay, but the Americans, they had no voice in the Parliament. So they could not decide what happened in the colonies. Okay, so the British government, they took the Americans' money, but the Americans, they had no voice in Parliament. Clear enough? So their slogan, the slogan of the Americans, was this: no taxation without representation. Okay? If we don't have a voice, we don't give money. Is it clear? Let me copy that. 1 second. No taxations without representation. Clear enough? All right. And this is the last part now for today. The Boston Massacre and the Boston Tea Party. So the Boston Massacre, this was in 1770. Okay, on the previous slide, we saw that there was taxation in 64, 64, 64, 67. Okay. In 1770, there were people in Boston who were very unhappy with the English, and they started throwing stones. You know, a stone, a rock. They started throwing rocks at the British in protest of the taxes. And the British responded by firing their guns by firing their guns on the protesters, okay? And they killed the protesters. So this is the Boston Massacre in 1770. British soldiers shoot and kill six American colonists who protested the new taxes. Okay, the people, they protest in the street and they start throwing rocks on the British soldiers, and the British soldiers, they shoot and kill the protesters. Okay, so the people in Boston were very furious. They were very furious, and in 1773, this is the Boston Tea Party. Okay, so this is a consequence of the Boston Massacre. So this is an illustration of the 1773 Tea Party. The Sons of Liberty. The Sons of Liberty is a secret organization. You understand? The secret organization, like the Illuminati. They disguised into Indians. Okay, they put on costumes to look like Indians. They are not Indians. Okay, they are British colonists. They are American, but they are disguised as Indians. And they went into the British boats. Okay, this is a British boat. They took the tea. Okay, there were this is called a crate or a box if you prefer. They took the boxes of tea and they threw it into the water. Okay, as a form of protest. This was a form of protest against the King of England. Do you understand? Is it clear? So this, the Boston Tea Party, it is the first revolutionary act in the United States of America. Do you understand? The first revolutionary act. It is like it is more or less like la prise de la Bastille in France. Okay, the first revolutionary act. Clear enough? All right. And we are finished for today. I'm sorry because I think maybe the class today was a little difficult. What do you think? Did you get it? Do you have questions? Questions or no questions? Okay, can we do a quick recap maybe? Can you give me the important dates? The start of the war, the end of the war. On va faire notre recap en français, ça va être plus simple. Quand a commencé la guerre, quand a terminé la guerre, qui l'a gagnée, qu'est-ce qui se passe à la fin de la guerre, ce que vous avez compris du cours. Ok, on va prendre 5 minutes en plus pour discuter de ce que vous avez compris, et puis ensuite on arrêtera. Alors dites-moi, qu'est-ce que vous avez noté, de quoi est-ce que vous vous souvenez? Alors, 73, c'est... Augustin, 73, c'est pas le massacre, 73, c'est the Tea Party. 1773 is the Boston Tea Party. The Tea Party is when they throw the tea into the water. 1770 is the Boston Massacre. Donc là, à la fin du cours, là, on s'arrête à 73 aujourd'hui. 73, alors c'est l'acte de révolte des Sons of Liberty contre le roi, contre le monarque anglais, en 1770, c'est d'abord les Anglais qui font feu, qui tirent sur les protestants, je sais pas si on peut dire les protestants, c'est pas très clair, contre les gens, si vous voulez, qui protestent contre les nouveaux impôts, d'accord? Donc 70, c'est l'armée anglaise qui fait feu sur les Américains qui protestent les nouvelles taxes. 73, de l'autre côté, là, c'est les Américains qui se révoltent contre le roi anglais et qui jettent tout le thé anglais dans le port de Boston. Donc c'est deux événements différents, mais qui se passent tous les deux à Boston. Le Boston Massacre, à droite, en 70, et de Boston Tea Party, à gauche, en 73. Alors en 54, Paul, tout à fait, c'est le début de la guerre. Début de la guerre. Comment est-ce qu'elle s'appelle et qui sont les acteurs de cette guerre? Quelles sont les nations qui sont engagées dans cette guerre? Ok. Donc en 1754, on a le début de la guerre qui s'appelle... Avez-vous une idée? Est-ce que vous vous souvenez comment elle s'appelle cette guerre? Noélia? Elle a un nom particulier. Alors, Ethan, tu as tout à fait raison, sauf que British, c'est une nationalité, et Spain et France, ce sont des pays. Alors, tu peux nommer les pays, tu peux dire France, Spain and Great Britain, ou alors tu peux dire les nationalités, et si tu dis les nationalités, là tu mets the devant et tu dis the Spanish, the French and the British. Donc ça, c'est les trois super pouvoirs qui débutent la guerre en 1754. Cette guerre, on l'appelle the Indian and French War, ou alors the Seven Years War. Durant cette guerre, il y a un front aux États-Unis d'Amérique. Nous, c'est ça qui nous intéresse parce que c'est ça qui amène à la révolution. Mais ils se battent aussi en Russie, ils se battent aussi en Europe. C'est presque la Première Guerre mondiale en fait. Euh, et donc les Américains, eux, ils l'appellent pas la guerre de 7 ans, ils l'appellent pas the Seven Years War, ils l'appellent the Indian and French War parce que les Français avaient des alliés dans les Grandes Plaines. Si je dis pas de bêtises, alors je dis probablement une bêtise, ça à vérifier, mais je crois que les Français étaient alliés avec les Iroquois. Enfin, quoi qu'il en soit, les Français étaient alliés avec des tribus indiennes. Les Anglais des 13 colonies étaient alliés avec d'autres tribus indiennes, et donc c'était les Indiens qui se battaient entre eux pour défendre les Français ou les Britanniques. Donc c'était une guerre un petit peu particulière. Enfin, les Français et les Britanniques se battaient aussi, mais ils avaient tous les deux des tribus d'Indiens qui combattaient pour eux. C'est pour ça qu'on appelle la guerre comme ça. Ensuite, événement important après la guerre. Alors, le traité de Paris, qui fait que la Grande-Bretagne s'accapare quasiment toute l'Amérique du Nord, en fait, jusqu'à la frontière qui est ici. La frontière, c'est le Mississippi. Et puis, la proclamation du roi. La proclamation du roi, c'est parce que le roi, il n'a plus d'argent. Par conséquent, il ne peut pas faire la guerre aux Indiens. Et puisqu'il ne peut pas faire la guerre aux Indiens, le roi interdit aux colons nord-américains de franchir les Appalaches. Les Appalaches, c'est une chaîne de montagnes qui va euh, du, du- du nord-est du continent, quasiment de la côte nord-est, quasiment jusqu'en Floride. C'est très très long comme chaîne de montagnes. Donc le roi dit, vous n'avez pas le droit de traverser ces territoires sont réservés aux Indiens. Les Américains sont très mécontents parce que la raison pour laquelle la plupart des gens euh, immigrent vers les États-Unis, c'est parce qu'on leur a promis qu'ils auraient des nouvelles terres. On leur a promis qu'ils auraient des hectares et des hectares de terres sur lesquels ils pourraient vivre, construire leur maison, planter ce qu'ils voulaient. Et du jour au lendemain, le roi leur déclare, vous n'avez plus le droit de partir à l'ouest. Alors les gens étaient extrêmement mécontents. Les Français étaient extrêmement mécontents parce qu'ils avaient un tout petit bout de Québec de rien du tout en Amérique du Nord. Et puis les colons nord-américains étaient extrêmement mécontents parce qu'on leur avait volé toutes leurs terres en fait. On leur a dit vous n'avez plus le droit de sortir des colonies. Alors que la raison pour laquelle ils sont partis aux États-Unis, c'est parce qu'ils voulaient toutes les terres qui étaient à l'ouest. Donc The Great Proclamation, c'est quelque chose qui déjà met les colonies extrêmement en colère. Et puis ensuite, pour rajouter à la colère des colonies, bah, il y a toutes les taxes qui viennent par-dessus. Alors ça, c'est la liste des choses pour lesquelles ils sont pas contents. Et puis ensuite, il y a tous ces nouveaux impôts là qui viennent se rajouter. Voilà. Et donc à l'issue de tout ça, bah, les Américains ne sont pas contents du tout, et donc ils commencent à organiser des actes de révolte contre le gouvernement britannique et contre le roi. Ok, bah, je crois que je vais m'arrêter là. Avez-vous des questions, mesdames, messieurs, avant qu'on ne se quitte? Je vais vous donner, je profite en attendant de voir si j'ai des questions. Je vais vous donner un petit peu de travail à faire pendant les vacances. Je vous mettrai en ligne, je ne l'ai pas faite pour le moment, mais je vais la préparer demain ou après-demain, je ne sais pas encore. Une frise chronologique sur laquelle je vous demanderai de remettre les différents éléments qu'on a vus. Là, on est rendu à la partie 5, il y a pas mal de dates. Donc je vais vous remettre la frise, pardon, je vais vous mettre une frise sur Pronote, ça sera à faire pour la rentrée. Vous n'aurez pas un petit peu de travail, mais comme ça vous fera faire un petit peu d'anglais pendant les vacances. Et donc il faudra reprendre toutes les parties 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pour compléter la frise chronologique. Ok pour vous? Pas de commentaires, pas de questions? Eh bien si j'ai pas de commentaires, mesdames, messieurs, je vais vous souhaiter à tous d'excellentes vacances. Reposez-vous bien. Essayez de profiter du soleil, même si vous n'avez pas le droit de sortir trop loin. Augustin, non, on n'a pas cours demain. C'est la dernière fois qu'on stream avant la rentrée. Si vous avez des questions, comme le disait Andrea, si vous avez des questions qui vous viennent après le stream, n'hésitez pas à m'envoyer un mail, je vous remets mon adresse dans le chat. Voilà, et puis je vous mets une petite frise à faire pendant les vacances, et je vous souhaite à tous d'excellentes vacances. Au revoir.